And we are rolling in for Rolling Going Free. How's everybody doing? Please share the URL. We're going to be here now for a very long time. And we want folks to know that we're having a good time. We're getting educated. And we're going to take a look at a couple of these stories, particularly the attacked dolphin story, and look at a couple of your comments from over the past week as well, and speak to some of those. It's very good to see everybody. Can you hear me okay? We have, as usual, Cash App, Entropy up and running. If you have any questions or comments that you absolutely would like to have read while we are together, please make sure you use one of those. And we have a financial gift right to get started. Thank you, Thylacine, very much. Space Hoppers with us. We have El Buscador financially gifting $2. And thank you so very much, good brother. And it's great to see you writing here. We extol your efforts for white well-being. Westernkind United. Very well written. Well said. And we have right here, beginning with our first story, conservatives on social media slammed the Biden administration after it was announced that a, quote, disinformation governance board is being established to combat disinformation, unlike the attack killer dolphins that we're going to be talking about shortly. Beautiful day in Northern Virginia, right beside Mordor on the Potomac, Washington, D.C., which you can see in our beautiful window, magic window behind me. The governance board is being established to combat disinformation in the 2022 midterms, because Democrats, they're experts at combating disinformation, which is definitely not a euphemism for misinforming the public. Definitely not the exact opposite of what they're saying. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas testified Wednesday that a disinformation, ain't that America? Alejandro, Wednesday, that a disinformation governance board had recently been created as soon as Musk had purchased Twitter. Days after Tesla CEO, boy, they actually write that. I didn't know that was going that direction. Elon Musk purchased Twitter to combat online disinformation and will be led by Undersecretary for Policy, Rob Silvers. He's silvery all over. Co-chair with Principal Deputy General Counsel, Jennifer Gaskill. Wow. You just have a couple of stereotypical names there, don't you? Gaskill and Silvers are going to join together to make sure that no one is saying anything that they disapprove of, because Democrats get to decide what the truth is in the United States. The goal, and then the Republicans are just feckless, gelded losers that just go along with it. Quote, the goal is to bring the resources of Department of Homeland Security together to address this threat, Mayorkas said, adding that the department is focused on the spread of disinformation in minority communities. So they're just going to tuck that in anti-white or non-white communities wherever they can, because it's just always, it's like the magic was abracadabra in the modern West of anti-whiteism. All you have to do is say minorities, and we never say minorities because that makes non-white people look like they're in some kind of, particularly anti-white non-white people, like they're in some kind of precarious situation where we have to endlessly accept the victimization of ourselves because they need us to be victimized to survive. Bullshit. They are in no way in a precarious state. We are the minority of the world. We are the minority as Westernkind. We are the minority in almost every single city of ours, towns, and increasingly states. And eventually it will be our countries that we create and we sustain. It doesn't mean that non-white people aren't there doing wonderful things and being heroes and everything else. It just means that the West doesn't exist without Westernkind. And even then, they'll still be referring to us as the legacy majority, even then, so that they can maintain. That's already written into law. We've in the United States, we've looked at that. But check with CNN. Check with the anti-whites, because until we don't have anti-whites deciding what truth is, with the support, the teeth, the weapons, the badges, the jackbooted thugs kicking your fucking doors down while you're in your bed and putting an MP5 in your face that you wake up to, until that goes away, well, we just have to go ahead and abide by what they consider truth. Doesn't sound anything at all like communist China or Soviet Russia, Cambodia, North Korea. Doesn't sound anything like that except 100%. Missouri Senator and gelded loser freak Josh Hawley referred to the board as a, quote, disgrace, and wrote a letter to DHS. Oh, he wrote a letter? Just like grandma. What a pussy. What an absolute coward he is. DHS secretary wrote a letter to her, Alejandro Mayorkas, demanding answers. Why doesn't this person have like 5 more names? You know, this person has like 5 more names. Demanding answers as to how the board will operate. I've wrote a sternly worded letter to them, constituents and financial donors. So please continue to financially donate millions. By the way, if you haven't realized, you haven't been a part of the process, these people like Josh, they receive millions of dollars, and they can use this money almost any way they want, because they can say, well, this is for campaigning, X is for campaigning, Y is for campaigning, anything, almost anything they want. I had to be in that Lamborghini that day. It's for campaigning. Had to get from point A to point B as quickly. But of course, Holly would not be going from point A to point B rapidly in something as cool as a super sport car like Lamborghini. No, he's spending the money, I'm sure, to have the hair waxed off his toes, because he is a coward, gelded loser. He wrote a stern letter. I'm going to find out what they're able to do. Oh, I found out. They're able pretty much to go up your ass as far as they want. Thanks, Josh. Joshy, well done. Still waiting on that paternity test for your children, buddy. Is there anything more dystopian than a disinformation governance board run by the federal government? Says another Republican candidate. Adding in a later tweet that the board is Orwellian. Wow, you guys are just pathetic. Montague. It's just absolutely, how long are you going to say things are Orwellian? They're anti-white. It's anti-white. Grow a set. Or your constituents should vote for somebody like me, somebody who has more than enough of a set. Elephants are jealous. They didn't need a disinformation board, governance board, until Elon Musk threatened their control over the narrative. Texas Republican, another Republican loser here, Troy, he tweeted, quote, the libs spent the last, no shit. And you don't have them at the hypocrisy. You do not. That is not the point. That is not the issue. The issue is that it's anti-white. Who are you going to complain to? I mean, Republicans are like the goody two-shoes, but they're not, in the House, child who runs to the parent and says, oh, well, not fair here. Not, and then the parent is supposed to come. Who's the parent? There is none. Why don't you all just go back to voting for people who think that their sons talk to angels? The libs, oh God, this is actually painful for me. It's so dumb. The libs spent the last weeks planting the seeds for the backup plan in case they're libs. That's all they are. They're libs. Just give them the name of their taking so you can continue to be in their story. Who is this? Oh, it's Boebert. The libs, not the anti-whites, spent the last weeks planting the seeds for the backup plan in case the Twitter deal actually happened. Republican Congresswoman and alcoholic Lauren Boebert tweeted, quote, today's news of Biden backed disinformation governance board is dystopian. Whoa, big words, big words. You know, the thing is that these people know, these Republican leaders, conservative leaders, misleaders, they know that these things are anti-white. They just refuse to say it. They just refuse to say it because then they're actually striking the demon that is destroying Western civilization. Instead, they're going to talk about libs. Instead, they're going to talk about dystopian era. They can't afford to let the truth be anything but what they say. Great. Now you've complained. Are you going to write a stern letter as well? Because that's what everybody at home can do. So presumably you in office, you have more power. You can go and make something happen, right? Apparently not. Biden's Disinformation Governance Board is a real world ministry of truth. Daily Wire reporter Megan Basham tweeted, a conservative movement that doesn't fight this with everything it has isn't worthy of the name or the name American. Well, no, a conservative movement is absolutely worthy of that name because they conserve nothing. How old are you? The leaders of the conservative movement conserve nothing. That's why we can look back, every one of us, throughout the totality of our lives and see that Western civilization is becoming increasingly anti-white by the day, the week, the month, the year. What do you mean it's not worthy of the name? That is exactly what it does. Politico reported, and that's why people continue to vote for Hawley and Boebert and these other people, because they're going to write sternly worded letters. At least the anti-whites get stuff done. The hardcore anti-whites. Hawley's an anti-white without question. Politico reporter reported that Nina, Jankowicz, who previously served as a disinformation fellow at the Wilson Center, will head the board as executive director. Jankowicz suggested during the 2020 presidential election that Hunter Biden's laptop, which has been verified by multiple media outlets, was a, quote, Russian influence operation, close quote. Jankowicz retweeted her comment on Wednesday, claiming that she was simply live tweeting the presidential debate between Biden and Trump. DHS did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Fox. Also, anti-whites intended to lead you down a primrose path to perdition. A little less bloody than CNN, but it would be better at this point to have CNN just doing its thing, because Fox makes you feel good. Fox makes you feel like you're getting some information, like you're getting the real story, don't they? The real story's coming up, though, here with attack, murder, Dolphins. All right. Jesus. With its military manpower strained by the fighting in Ukraine, Russia appears to have developed sea defense to a different, devolved. Russia appears to have devolved sea defense to a different mammal, dolphins. Moscow has deployed trained dolphins at the entrance to a key port in the Black Sea, apparently to protect a naval base from potential Ukrainian attacks, according to a review of satellite images by the commercial firm Maxar and the U.S. Naval Institute, probably both participating in Disney's new movies. Maxar, Pixar, what's really the difference, right? Killer dolphins. How would you like to have that heading your way? You're a diver, you're trained, You're going to sneak up and plant a couple of bombs. And then all of a sudden, streaking out of how fast can they swim? 30 mile an hour converted to miles an hour from knots. I don't know. And then what do? They probably ram you and break all your ribs and you die. 2 transportable dolphin pens were moved to uh, Sevastopol Harbor, Sevastopol Harbor in February, around the time Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine, according to analysis of the satellite image by Sutton, a submarine analyst who specializes in the use of marine mammal pens and wrote for the Naval Institute. What are they doing with their dolphins? Killer dolphins. And this isn't even a movie. When are they going to make the movie about this? The Dolphins may be tasked with preventing Ukrainian divers from infiltrating the harbor underwater and sabotaging warships there, which sit just out of reach of Ukrainian missiles, he said. In an email to NBC News, Sutton said that dolphins were, quote, the most obvious type of mammal. The most obvious? Being used to protect the naval base in the Black Sea. What else are they? I mean, could you just see like the sea turtles launch an attack and establish a beachhead for the Russians? They crawl up out of the water at 1/17 a mile an hour, lasers on their back, blazing away. Somebody's going to make a wonderful meme of this. He added that these were most likely the same pens that Russia deployed to Tartus in Syria in 2018, where they used dolphins to counter enemy divers, retrieve objects from the seafloor, and like sticks while they were playing fetch, and perform intelligence operations. I'm getting all of these ridiculous images in my mind of like seagulls with weapons strapped to them, and they're all like grizzled and angry and drinking beer. A spokesperson for Maxar Technologies, who provided NBC with the satellite imagery, said that he, quote, agreed with the analytic assessments made by our partners at the USNI. Okay, so although Sevastopol, although the Sevastopol naval base is not Russia's largest in the Black Sea, it is crucial for the military given its proximity to the southern tip of the Crimean Peninsula, which Moscow annexed in 2014. A senior Russian military commander said last week that the country's goal in the conflict is now to seize full control of southern Ukraine as well as the east, forming a land bridge to Crimea. Uh-huh. Well, exactly as we had discussed. And you know, it makes me think that the war, even when Russia says that, okay, we have everything east of the river, and then everything in the south that abuts the Black Sea, that Ukrainians will continue to fight and die with money from the U.S. and elsewhere, and supplied with weapons. That will be an interesting. We could talk about that some other time. We don't have enough time right now. This battle for the Donbass in eastern Ukraine is the second phase of Russia's war after its failure around Kiev and the north. Its failure? The sinking of the flagship of Russia's Black Sea Fleet, the Moskva, not named after Elon Musk, this month was a strategic and symbolic blow to the Kremlin's war effort. Protecting remaining ships in the area may thus be a priority. Why wouldn't it be? Imbecile? During the Soviet era, Russia used the base to train dolphins to search for mines and plant explosives on ships, according to the Moscow Times. Sevastopol base. Plant explosives on other ships as well. Wow, can you imagine that? These are some smart animals, according to the Moscow Times. After the breakup of the Soviet Union in 91, Ukraine inherited the dolphins. What are they, like a singing pair? I mean, don't they have more than two? And retrained them as, oh, bullshit, therapy animals for special needs children. My God, talk about war propaganda. They had trained them for evil. We trained them to help retarded children. Good. When Russia repossessed the area after annexation, it resumed the Dolphins' military training. No more handicapped children for you, Dolphins. Now it's only bloodlust. In April 2019, the sighting of a beluga whale in a harness in Norway with a camera and a clip reading Equipment St. Petersburg pointed to the expansion of the program. Oh my Lord. The abominable snowman, sighted with an RPG on his shoulder, made his way into Alaska. It's not surprising that Putin, of all people, would think that dolphins are a weapon of, well, because he's just so evil. Andrew Lambert, a professor of naval history at King's College, London, said Thursday, oh, history? You mean his story? Like so much of what we're seeing in Ukraine, it's the Soviet Union's work being reenacted by the current Russian government. But he added that dolphins do have the potential to be efficient spies. This is their world, and they're going to find you underwater very, very quickly. And apparently, they'll kill you because they have lasers and machine guns and bombs and a whole host of things. Flipper is coming for you, buddy. You better not get in the water. Jaws doesn't have a chance, especially when the Russians break out the beluga whale. What's next? The sperm whale. A sperm whale was spotted off the coast of Norway carrying a Russian flag. Dolphins' deep diving abilities, as well as their sonar communication system, makes them more effective at underwater detection than any major technological advancement so far. Animal rights activists, right, frequently protest the use of sea mammals in war, pointing out that they do not have the ability to volunteer. How do you know? I mean, is it just a draft? But since the Cold War, both Russia and the United States have deployed marine mammals to carry out searches underwater. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. used bottlenose dolphins and sea lions. How about that? Sea lions. To search for objects and patrol restricted waters. And in 2003, NBC News reported that the U.S. military had flown trained dolphins into a key Iraq port to sweep for mines, the Iraqi port, so they could sweep for mines. And what happened to them when they found the mines? Doesn't sound like maybe America is any better. But that's because we're not in charge of America. We love animals, and we would never send them into harm's way to be blown up or to kill or maybe we would, because maybe they would volunteer and they would say, we want to fight for you. All right. We're going to take a look at a couple of these comments, and then we're going to roll. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. What is here that might pertain? Here we have Lovely Porridge writing, I haven't watched it all yet, but Rory's question is extremely important. This is a question that Rory asked about what motivates anti-whites. Why on earth are these people so anti-white? After you've convinced someone of the problem of anti-whiteism, they'll often ask, but why? I would love to just answer, who cares? Let's stop the harm, then we can analyze it. But that doesn't cut it. Jason answered the root cause, jealousy and envy. But he also covered it earlier, movies. No matter your background, we all grew up watching the same movies. The royal family was ripped apart by a bunch of trashy Disney tropes. Prince Harry and Meghan had a hippity hop breakdance ghetto wedding. It was right out of a pizza commercial. Stale, boring white people with rigid conformity get they get crashed. I'll just read that again. Stale, boring white people with rigid conformity get gate crashed by the cool non-whites who really know how to party. Quote, who wants to be white? That's no fun. That's the message which we all internalized, whether consciously or not. But anti-whiteism predates the film industry. Many rich people, would hate the working class whites because they, quote, didn't know their place. They expected a fair wage. They were better looking and stronger. They weren't corrupted and degenerate. Throughout history, this has resulted in many oligarchs having a preference for non-white people. Still, many millionaires envy and hate the white middle class, happy Christian family. This demon has always existed, but now it is incentivized, funded, promoted, demanded, and has a propaganda arm which makes the Soviet Union look amateur. How could you possibly harbor feelings of resentment toward your own race? Well, Rory, even as a great advocate of our people, you are also a victim of the brainwashing. The difference is we were able to recognize it and had the moral fortitude to oppose it. Very well written, Lovely Porridge. Please do follow him on the different platforms he is on. And I don't know if anybody could put that up on the screen. And I'll be taking a look at your comments online right now. All right, just a moment after I do this. Let's see. We don't want to do that one yet. So move that one out of the way. And this one out of the way. We might as well, since we're together, get some of your great comments. Literally Me writes here, I really enjoyed the testimonial here from Yiz. I've respected Jason and his ideas since I first heard them around 2 years ago, but I've always thought that there were things about his format and aesthetic that were limiting the message. Now I understand that I hadn't really wrapped my head around the way that these ideas are actually spread. Big thanks to Jason, Jared, and Yiz for what they're doing. Thank you very much for that. Literally Me. I appreciate that appreciation of myself, Jared, and our great sister, Yiz, the eunuch. This is another good one. This one is from Lupis. He writes, when I was a child, it always made me proud whenever I watched a film which included American Indians, as I have a small amount of American Indian ancestry. In my innocence, I felt pride in my white ancestors as well, who were predominantly German, Scandinavian, and British. And whereas American Indians were portrayed as either noble or at worst morally neutral, whites were always portrayed as cultureless barbarians, something which cannot be further from the truth. Contrary to the anti-white narrative, I wasn't bullied as a child for being part, quote, Injun, but for being majority, quote, Kraut, an anti-German slur. It's thanks to the work of Jason that I found a voice for the discontentment that I felt as a child. Since discovering Going Free and implementing its methods, meme curatives, I've lost friends, But I'd say that it has been the greatest blessing in my life to know that my white ancestors were heroes and that I can become a hero in our own story. Every man, woman, and child should have pride in their own race, and that most definitely includes Westernkind. Kip, indeed. Thank you so much for that, Lupis. And when we start going free, we don't lose friends. We find out who are our real friends, because anybody who would object to white well-being, anybody who's anti-white, is not a genuine friend of yours, even if you're only predominantly or almost entirely white. Certainly, if you are any other degree of it, you are up against somebody, if they're anti-white, who hates a significant part of you. And that is no friend. You know, if they put some sort of test, if they put some hurdle in the way of the friendship that says, look, even though you're white, you have to be anti-white, that's no friend at all. I let all of my friends, I grew up in Northern Virginia, many non-white friends, and I let them all know that you're going to be my friend, you can't be anti-white. And none of them had a problem with it. And any of them that didn't become a friend, right? Because they said, oh, no, I need you to be anti-white. And I'm anti-white. And so therefore, I'm going to move on. Let's see what you all are saying in the live chat. I'll maybe take a look at a couple more of these, and then we will roll out. The great Rory Herbert is over here with a $5 financial gift. God bless you, brother. I really appreciate it. Dear Jason, my firstborn was attacked by an American squirrel whilst asleep. Maybe that squirrel was working for Russia. Have you thought about that, Rory? Let me see what the rest of what you wrote here. In his pram, which for at least Americans, I don't know if it's elsewhere around. That's a carriage. That's a stroller for a baby. In my backyard. In your backyard. Well, fortunately, my wife rescued him in time. Good grief. That's actually kind of terrifying. Was the animal rabid? I believe that Carlisle had a similar experience. Would you let her explain it on your stream? No. Not right now, but maybe at some point she can share her account of being attacked. But I think the deeper question is, since we know that Russia is totally evil, the ear is against the door, have we asked yet whether or not the squirrel was a member of the Russian military? How do you know that that squirrel didn't ride on the back of a dolphin that was carrying missile pods strapped to its side? This could be an international thing, maybe a casus belli for World War. Thank you, brother, for the financial gift and the question. Let's see, what do we have here? The Tree Godfather and Bell Curve. And we do have the Carlisle Cockatoo young lady with us. Hello there. And we have No White Gill Clips, the champion, and another champion, Franklin. And there's the great gentleman there, Rory Herbert. Carrie is with us. Great to see you. BC, Rich Mad Dog. Rick Deckard. John Doe. Victorian Time Traveler. Thylacine. Who else do we have with us today? Space Hopper. Victorian Time Traveler. Who are you talking to there? Nope, not me. And we have John Wilkes Base. Hello to you. Let's Go Brandon is with us. Anglo-Saxon. Hello as well. Jim. Who else is with us? Jack. Great to see you all. Jim says, have you seen Conservative Inc. sending out pro-white tweets recently? No. So they're sending out white sympathetic tweets? Can you give us an example? Maybe quote somebody? That's interesting. Johnny Johnson, hello there. Probably a race car driver, right? Right. Dom says some people, like Adam Green, track the anti-white sentiment back to ancient, mystical, and then the ear is against the door prophecy. Okay. He's a nice guy, really nice guy. But that is for academics, and that's what he is, in my opinion. So anti-white people are what matter in our story. Whether, no matter what race, no matter what their background, they're anti-white, they're the problem. If they're not anti-white, they're not a problem. And you have that test in place forever, and then we can never get victimized, and we can have a nice, fair civilization as we are wont to do. The problem being that this, at least related parallel, is that this challenge to us of anti-whiteism and the anti-whites may have been what we needed to overcome the differences in our ethnicities, so that we could come together again and recognize what's important. Because we can at least poetically say that at some point, Westernkind was a single tribe, and we mastered all things that sought to master us, other peoples, disease, the environment. And then we ended up following petty chieftains for their enrichment and sexual gratification and anything else that the human might carnally lust for. And we became all of these different peoples, which is a beautiful thing, except that we end up putting things like flags and language and cuisine and music ahead of our biospirit, which is unbelievably foolish. And so we would have still ended up at some point with anti-whiteism, whether or not there was some other group that formulated, or might have been the original, the origin or whatever, in one traceable way. I think also when we talk about things like the origin of things, the human mind has this failing of this wont to reductionist conclusions. So you end up thinking, well, because you came from a single womb, that everything has to have a single origin. And that need not be the case. And in fact, is not the case for almost every single thing else. And so the tapestry that is anti-whiteism doesn't start with one thread. There are many starting points. And without these different starting points, you could not have ended up with this death shroud that they have weaved for Westernkind. Fit and healthy at any age. Great to see you, brother. Says, thank you, sir. Thank you, brother. Yeah, Dwight Healing says the noose is against the door. Exactly. Charlie Kirk said that there is a war on white people earlier today on Twitter. Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, their hands are being pushed by the work that we are doing directly, going to the source of the problem and treating that, which is anti-white ideology, and many others are doing indirectly. Cowboy is with us. So we directly and others indirectly are creating this pressure, which is what I have articulated for decades. Has to be done. And that changes the environment. It changes the context. Victorian time traveler says, and everybody's, no, that doesn't work. That can't be done. You're not going to speak at our conferences. That can't be done. No, it's just because you didn't think of it first. And the fact that I've been so loud and obstreperous is the reason why folks couldn't just very easily steal these ideas and then run off with it, appropriate them, and then just run off with it and say, oh, it's mine. So instead, it's just resulted in, it will ignore that guy. Victorian time traveler says, you're right about that. This is what we need to join together around the world as simply white people, brothers and sisters, precisely. That's how we put an end to it. All right, let's see what other comments we have here. What about over there on D Live? Hello to everybody there on D Live. And I don't see any questions on D Live or Odyssey. HB 2014 over there writes, I agree with you. Nobody, big caps, he writes, from the Going Free community should be retweeting Josh Hawley. They should be retweeting my clips of your appearances. Yeah. This has been a bit of an issue. And HB 2014 created either like nearly 1,000 clips of powerful, and he made me look much better, sound much better, made the points more powerful that I made, but they ended up being very powerful clips and extremely relatable, extremely shareable. And then he observed that he spends hours and hours and hours, and no white guilt clips doing the same thing. Spend hours and hours and hours making these things. And then we have all of these people in the community on Gab and on Twitter, but particularly on Twitter, none of them retweeting. I mean, but you can find things. He's right. You can find people in our community retweeting things like Hawley. Seriously. How, you look at, there are a lot of folks who say Jason should have more people watching. I mean, almost anybody else go live and to share their takes. Big audience, big audience, many times bigger. And then people say, well, the kind of way that Jason unwraps things, explains things, it goes right to the heart of the matter. We know exactly what the issue is. We have a practice here in Going Free that has demonstrated that it works for everyone. Actually changes things, by the way. And I'll get back to that in a second. And yet the audience is not the size of those others who are white sympathetic going live and who are sharing maybe very interesting because they're very bright people, they're very attractive, smart people, but nonetheless not as effective. And yet we have these people in this community, the Going Free community, who say, wow, Jason's audience should be much larger. And then you look at their Twitter, and HB and some others did this. They wanted to find out who is actually retweeting. Why don't we see so many more retweets? And they compared that with the America First community. And of course, when they were on Twitter and then when they were on Gab, and they're going to get back on Twitter. And you could very easily see that clips made of Nick were shared hundreds of times over by that community. Now, the community is overall larger, but the percentage of sharers are much larger. So if you're wondering why we haven't reached more people, if you're wondering why, and I'm going to get to the actual being efficacious, this is a big part of it. You can't say, well, Jason, start off in the beginning. Jason, your streams aren't, you've got to do more and larger streams. Okay, well, I get them all the way up to 8, 9, 10 hours long. Oh, well, now they're too long. That's the problem. Okay, well, we shortened them back down. Okay, well, now they're, it's just more people should know, but it's still the streams are too large. And then, okay, well, you have no white guilt clips. and HB 2014 making hundreds and hundreds of clips. These short things are 2 minutes long. They're 4 minutes long. They're 5 minutes. You can look at No White Guilt's clips. Go over to his YouTube page. How many times you've been there? Are you following that? And then sharing those things every 4 or 5 minutes, 2 minutes, minute 30 seconds. Those aren't getting shared. But you can find that sort of thing of content creators and thought leaders, organizational leaders, happening at a much higher percentage. So it's curious. And it's troubling, and it has really rankled some folks, and they came to me and they're like, what's going on? So every now and again, I say a little something. The important thing here I got to say before moving on is you have people right now. We are the absolute exception to the rule in service to white well-being. There's no denying this, in that we only celebrate our achievements. We only celebrate our successes. We are all about the pragmatism of going from where we are with ourselves, fixing our families, fixing our communities, being able to reach people, changing the dialogue of the anti-white regime's journalists, now the conservative ink folks at the very top of that misleading monstrosity, changing their words. That's because of our direct efforts to make that happen. We have individuals who are solo lovers, and we also have teams going out there, these Go Free clubs and the outreach team, and become a member. It's in the description below. And they're going out there and they're in these people's comments. We're getting huge content creators, politicians, their staff members, on and on, to use the vocabulary that sets us free. All right. Those are actual changes to the world. You have other communities. Let me just say, all of the other communities, nothing against them, doing wonderful things, wonderful people, very handsome, very pretty, smart people. And they will celebrate Elon Musk, his victory as their victory. They will celebrate Donald Trump's victory as their victory. You're not doing shit. You're not doing shit. You're a mental case. You're an absolute psycho. If you come together and you're like, yeah, we did it because Elon buys Twitter, you need to see a therapist. And it's going to have to be one that's even better trained than the one that's dealing with Amber Heard. That's psycho. Because you got problems. I mean, at least a football fan, a soccer fan, whatever it is, at least they, after years and years and years of investing their money, investing their time in a particular franchise, going there when it's raining, to the stadium, putting up stupid things in their yards, putting up vanity plates on their cars, identifying emotionally with that particular franchise, knowing the name of all of the athletes that have ever played, all of their championships. They have more right to celebrate the success of that team that they root for than these folks to celebrate these political. People are celebrating Putin, his victory in Ukraine, as their victory. Are you nuts? Surrounded by insane and extremely challenged folks. Yeah, we did it. Putin has done XYZ. Trump has done XYZ. Gab did XYZ. Musk did XYZ. Our victory. It's our victory from here to eternity. And then all these people, like this weird, bizarre cult. And then you look over here where people are actually like up to their elbows, grease covered, and they got cuts, and they're doing personal introspection, changing themselves, accessing their own abilities, getting through to their mother, to their sister, to their father, to their son for the first time, getting through to the coworker for the first time, the boss for the first time, the cop that works down the street for the first, never would have been able to go to the cop down the street. Look, turning on the news, getting out there to content creators, writing the journalists for the anti-white media and hammering them with our concepts, and then they start using it back at us, signifying our victory, seeing our victory in the use of our concepts, even by anti-whites who want to victimize us by starting off their fucking arguments by saying they're not anti-white. They don't practice anti-whiteism, but, and then there's fucking crickets. No sharing of shit. Yeah, well, just go over to these other communities and celebrate Elon Musk buying a platform as your victory then. If that's where you want to be, that's where you are emotionally. That's where you are. You're an immature child. If that's where you got to be, then that's where you got to be. That needed to be said. A lot of wonderful people out there. I don't know. Maybe I know that there are people making money, and they are just genuine grifters. They know they folks show up. They give them like a little cartoon character, and then they sell their merchandise, a bunch of merchandise with a cartoon character on it, and then all they do is they ridicule the anti-whites, calling them the names of their taking, of course, and they talk about their victories. The Republicans are about to win a bunch of seats coming up here in the midterms. These people are going to be talking about their victories when they don't do anything. They're not going to be, many of them won't even be voting for these people that end up winning. They're not going to be financing. They're not going to be hitting the streets, passing out literature for Republicans and all of this kind of garbage. They're going to be doing any of that. At least those people have invested themselves, the people out spreading this like Republican nonsense, because it just leads us to perdition. Primrose path, not Republican people or conservative people or patriotic people. Might be able to get angry over something like this. Axis Monday says, this video succeeds as both a movie review. This is talking about my review of The Northman, which is garbage. And there are people who are showing up who want to celebrate. Think about this. What have I said? The people out there, they end up, when they want to stand up for Westernkind, they do what? They adopt the villain role in the anti-white narrative. Then they say, no, that's not what we're doing. Even though I can argue and articulate every syllable of it and they can't overcome it. Then they say, nope, that's not happening. And they go right out and say, I love this anti-white portrayal of Northern Europeans. It absolutely fits with me. I mean, talk about a level of benightedness. They could be educated. They have high intelligences, but they are just not being reached. They are so poisoned that they are in love with an anti-white portrayal, and they come right out and they defend, and have already received a couple of these messages saying, oh, Jason has some sort of, delicate view of our history. No, you just go ahead and go back to playing a villain in somebody else's story and enjoying the way they depict our people. Axis Monday says, this video succeeds as both a movie review and as a healthy and much needed dose of white positivity in the sphere of cultural commentary. Excellent work! Exclamation point. I would enthusiastically appreciate more videos like this if you have an interest in making them. Maybe I will. And I appreciate that. Reptile, lovely, the lovely gentleman Reptile writes here, thank you for sparing me the time of confirming my suspicions. When a tale of our people is written by others, it's no longer our story. It exists only within the anti-white narrative. Beautifully written, brother. He goes on here, and I'm going to go ahead and read this right now. Going free is a simple and truly life-saving practice, but it does require exceptional character. Consider the tremendous fortitude within every member of this community. The honesty it takes to acknowledge you are afflicted with a sickness the bravery to accept its incurable, and the strength to continually implement the only treatment. It's a testament to the love that drives us. And without that love, for ourselves and our people, we stand powerless against it. We succumb to our vices. We wallow in self-hatred and disdain for all of Westernkind, as amply demonstrated. Do not be mired by the affliction, but be uplifted with the love required to boldly stand against it. Go free. Genius. Written by Reptile. Wonderful gentleman. Thank you so much. Let's see. Is this one about Pepper Peter Piper? Writes here, our enemies in the media have 4 levels of their anti-white film television agenda. Level 1, make inconsequential additions and or changes. Have a non-white person in the background in 19th century London. Level 2, claim an event or person is open to interpretation, projecting modern values and, mindsets on characters. Level 3, artistic license. They misrepresent history in order to tell a more cohesive story. Dolphin Tale is about the first prosthetic limb made for a dolphin, probably a war veteran. The 2 scientists who created it in real life over a couple of months were white. The movie shows Morgan Freeman creating it in a couple of weeks. Level 4, rewrite history. They have actually argued, quote, what's more important, historical accuracy or diverse representation, close quote. Let me know if I missed anything. Brother, you did a magnificent job. Thank you very much for writing that. That's brilliant. We'll read this one, Victorian Time Traveler. I just got back from climbing a mesa with my friend. I've been trying to talk to him about going free, and he doesn't really want to hear it. There's kind of a strange irony. He's the only friend that I still have who didn't distance himself from me when I became an antique nationalist, and I feel horrible for leading him astray. He denies this, but I suspect that he got fired from his last job because he repeated something that I said. I'm also pretty sure that he has damaged his family relationships the same way I did. And that's compounded by the fact that his mother died last week. That's very brave of you, Victorian Time Traveler. And I salute you for that. Victorian Time Traveler had, like everybody to one degree or another, had gone down the path of playing the villain in the anti-white narrative because you didn't know there was another way. And playing the villain in various ways. And the ideas that he acquired, he shared with people. And he was ostracized from family, from friends, etc. The only person who didn't abandon him adopted the things that he was saying and then shared them in his life. And as a consequence, he got fired from his job, had his family, became estranged from his family. And then while estranged from his family, his mother died. How about those consequences for playing the villain of various types? How many times do people have to hear? But yeah, the next time some French girl starts talking like Hitler, yeah, share those fucking tweets again. Share those gabs again, dumbasses. Sorry, you all are actually very smart that are doing that. But you have been blindfolded and you don't know how stupid and dangerous it is for you and all of us. Stuart Maxwell talking about me watching The Northman. You're a hero for watching this awful stuff, Jason. So thanks for putting yourself through it so we don't have to, but we can all learn from it. Thank you. You're most welcome. I appreciate your gratitude. Baldor, the great Baldor, says here, I would like to thank you, Jason, for adding meretricious to my vocabulary. I think that was 2 going frees ago. And then Don't Mention says, LOL, there's a fair few others in this stream to look out for as well. I appreciate that, the both of you. And then Don't Mention adding here, meretricious, apparently attractive, but of no real value. Very carefully selected word there, Jason. Acute, too. Accurate. Thank you. I appreciate it. See if there are any that pertain here. We'll just save the rest for the next going free on Sunday. Johnny Johnson, who's with us, says Elon needs an anti-white survival kit sent to him ASAP. He will be attacked viciously by anti-whites and need the lexicon that makes him able to defend himself. Sean King just deleted his Twitter and called Elon's takeover, what is that, white power maybe? And then join Twitter ASAP, he says here. And of course, I think that Sean King came back. Join Twitter ASAP and use our lexicon around Musk tweet attackers. Freedom of speech for whites to tweet campaign. That is brilliant. You see, that's how we're doing something. We're getting out. This is brilliant, Johnny. I really appreciate that. A great example of what differentiates us. We are not going into these environments and first of all, in just a wild way. These are planned. These are intelligent, precision love missions where we go in there and we provide people with the concepts that empower them. We don't go there to get a laugh by saying the most insulting thing. We don't go there, which by the way is ruining yourself when you do that anyhow. It doesn't help our people. We don't go there to say the most disgusting thing to prove how disgusting we can be and then puff our bird chest out because a lot of those folks who like to act real tough online are real wimps and criminal types. Stab you in the back, but no fair fight. No, this is the kind of thing we do right here. So if Elon Musk starts using anti-white, anti-whiteism, Westernkind, anti-white narrative, white erasure, it'll be, and others, it'll be because of our efforts, not because there was like this general fog in the air that he just happened upon in himself, in his thinking, in his daydreaming. And you know what? I mean, ultimately, if it comes down to it and we have to grab people by the lapels to force them to identify our work and success, then we've got to do it. Because if they go on thinking that success is coming from the ether, or success is coming by chance, or success is coming, whatever, then what does that bode for the future beyond those few victories? Well, we'll read this one too. Marilyn writes here, amen, very well said. I wish there could have been no white guilt when I was growing up. I'm a baby boomer, which grew up in the civil rights garbage in the 1960s. And what you're bringing to light and exposing the anti-whites and their agenda is very, very true. It really makes me mad that some people in my own race condemn us for not taking crap anymore and being targets of anti-white hate, blame, intimidation, etc. Enough is enough. Damn no. More. So much more. There's so much more I could say from years of seeing this stuff and also being victimized by those hate mongers. Thank you for all you are doing for us, for being our lead voice. Well, I really appreciate that, Marilyn, especially at moments like this. I'll save that one. I think that is the rest can be saved for Sunday. And we'll see if anybody else has any other comments or questions. Looks like Odyssey is blank. And same with D Live. And look here, we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up, I think. We have some financial gifts. We have the great Rory Herbert back with $3 financial gift. God bless you, brother. Thank you very much. Dear Jason, next time you're in England, you're welcome to take a spin in my Morgan Plus 4 motor car. Oh, really? Well, that's very interesting. You can catch a glimpse of it on my YouTube channel, Driving to a Local Pub with My Dog. Well, I'm going to check that out. Do I have your YouTube channel already? That's really exciting. Yeah, thank you very much. That would be a lot of fun. Mr. Bloom is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see you, good sir. $20 financial gift. And let's get a round of raucous emojis going for Mr. Bloom. God bless you, brother. He says, hi, brother. I hope you're doing well. I've sent you some messages on Skype regarding a debate my friend will be taking part in on Saturday on the topic of the anti-white R word. I've advised him strongly not to debate within their narrative and to be on the offensive as much as possible against anti-whiteism. Well, I'll look right into it, man. Thank you so much for bringing it to my attention. And if I can be there at the time and maybe comment in the chat, I will do so. That would be, that's great. Mr. Bloom back again with another $10 financial gift, $10 rather to add to the 20 financial gift that he gave a moment ago. He says here, my friend has constructed a document for his debate, which I have sent over on Skype. Please let me know what you think of it if you get the chance. I get the chance to take a look. No worries if you don't get the chance. God bless. I'll take a look, brother, and see where he's coming from. Yeah, you've got to be out of the anti-white narrative or you never win. That's the bottom line. Mr. Bloom says, with another $5 to add to the 30 so far. And he says the debate is on, politically provoked, by the way. Do you know the time? You don't have to gift again. You can just write into the question widget. And I'll write that down. Or I'll just look on the politically provoked channel. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I hope he does a great job. I guess he's going to be up against some real scum, some real anti-white scum. I'll turn around here and we'll have a look over at Cash App and see if anybody. Okay, we're blank there. I see Paul Revere is with us. Thank you for joining. Lockie is here. Thank you for joining. By the way, send your positive energy to Raymond Foster, who is having problems with the courts again, the anti-white courts in our once great country of Australia, no longer in our hands. So our thoughts go out to you, good sir. Barkey is with us. Hello to you. And I'm going to take a quick look in the YouTube live chat. Tag me if you have, as No White Guilt, if you have something to say or ask. And after that, I think we will check out, roll out. Hello to Michael. Hello to Jilly is here, and she says that the window frame seems like it has a new effect, maybe a silvery sheen. Whatever it is that I am seeing, I like it. Well, thank you very much. Let's get a big round of applause going for Groundhog Fury, who has, he made the frame for the magic window, and there is an addition there. That you can see that the glass is now held in place on the magic window, and we can look out onto Washington, D.C. If you look closely, you'll be able to see people and cars and flags fluttering and all of that business. Peter is here. It says Jason is awesome. I thank you for that. Victorian time traveler, killer dolphins is just the tip of the iceberg. Have you not heard of the human chimpanzee hybrids? The perfect synthesis of man and beast. I did hear about that back in Soviet days, Soviet Union. They supposedly were, and maybe there's some truth to it, trying to reproduce a cross between chimpanzee and a human being. Victorian time traveler also points out, yes, you're right about that. This is what we need to join together around. The world as simply white people, brothers and sisters. We mentioned that earlier. It deserved to be repeated. Working backwards. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate that. And appreciate all of you. Great Mrs. Jess Horst is here. And I think how long have we gone? Just over an hour or so. And so for all, First Lady of the American Theater, wonderful to see you as well. Just having a quick look here because it leapt on me. And we didn't miss anything over here. Thank the good Lord. Well, folks, this has been a lot of fun. The anti-whites who call themselves Democrats, anti-white Democrats, are right now creating the Ministry of Truth. This is where we began the roll-in. And you have a bunch of wonderful, real American heroes heading that up. I mean, these are, when you think America, you don't think about, you think of, isn't this funny? Plenty of people alive today who remember when you would think of America, you would say, there's the all-American boy and there's the all-American girl. And America was much, much less so now. The spirit and definition of it is what we created as being white erased. And its name is staying the same so that there isn't a revolution, but the substance is completely changing. It's completely being rewritten. But at one point in time, we used to be able to say, the all-American boy and the all-American girl, and you all know what was meant by that. It's like the all German boy and the all German girl. You know what's meant by that. The all Canadian boy, the all Canadian girl. You know what's meant by that. And the anti-whites do too, and they hate you for it. They want you white erased. They want to absolutely obliterate, biologically white erase our people. That's what they're after. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You see it all around us. And that's what the anti-whites who call themselves Democrats are scheduling to do with this new Ministry of Truth in the United States. They are concerned that people will be allowed to contradict the things that they say are truth and are the only things that are permissible to say on Twitter in the future. We don't exactly know whether that's going to be true or to what degree anyhow. But they are concerned about it. And so they are putting legal structures in place to shut Musk down. And therefore, to shut down any speech that contradicts the anti-white narrative. You should have learned, if you didn't from the beginning, no single billionaire, not even the richest one in the world, can come along and save Western civilization. Anybody who would tell you that having being the richest man in the world is going to enable somebody to overcome anti-whiteism is a fool. They're still wet behind the ears, or they are a retardus. They are a hardcore retardus. The reason why is because all that money that you're counting to conclude that that's the richest person of the world is printed by the families of anti-whites who are actually the richest people in the world. And you can check with CNN. But those are the actual people with the most power, and they could shut down anybody they want instantly. The one thing that they cannot do, though, is shut down the formula that we have assembled here. Not at least to the point where they are taking people out into fields and machine gunning them for saying anything that contradicts. And that we've talked about before, how that would be very difficult to do. It would have to be done first here in the United States before anywhere else, because if it were done anywhere else first, the United States would very quickly deal with anti-whiteism. Westernkind would here. So we have to continue to push white well-being. We have to continue to push these concepts so that we can reclaim our destiny. We can take it back from the anti-whites, because that's what's actually important. When the words that are used to discuss the ideas, the events of the day, when those are words, when those are concepts that put people in our story, our victory is inescapable. It's ineluctable because we're writing it. No more needs to be said. Roll out.